match that Bronzetti has, I think, the flattest backhand among
Yes.
all players in the top 50.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you?
Yeah, it felt very awkward.
They say rivalries are built over years, but in the high-stakes world of professional tennis, momentum can erase history in a single night. A perfect example is the brewing tension between American sensation Coco Gauff and Italy's relentless Jasmine Paolini. These two players' careers have taken them on very different paths, yet somehow keep colliding on some of the sport's biggest stages. But their upcoming game at the Cincinnati Quarter finals would be like no other. The stakes are so high this time, and Gauff made an announcement concerning the game that stunned the entire tennis world. What did she announce? Let's find out. Coco Gauff's announcement. Just 2 months ago, Gauff was riding the high of winning her second Grand Slam at Roland Garros. She was sharp, confident, and the clear face of American tennis. But the road since then hasn't been entirely smooth. So many serving yips have resurfaced in Canada to the point that critics started whispering about whether her hard-court dominance was beginning to slip. And now, as she steps into the Cincinnati Open quarterfinal, she's staring down a familiar opponent, one who's beaten her twice this year alone. Talk about bad timing. This isn't the first time Gauff and Paolini have met, but this time the stakes feel heavier. Their head-to-head record is locked at 2-2. Gauff took the first 2 matches, both on hard courts. But Paolini answered back on clay this year, showing she could not only keep up with Gauff's explosive pace, but actually dictate points against her. For many tennis fans, it was the highlight of the year. Gauff's power and speed against Paolini's angles and court craft. They once again look forward to a sensational match between the two tennis giants. And now, just before the match, Gauff made a statement that set the tennis world buzzing. No one expected it. It was when she briefly spoke with reporters before her last game. She was asked about her preparation levels for the upcoming game, seeing that she would have her nemesis on the other end. Surprisingly, she didn't downplay Paolini's abilities. In fact, she called her one of the toughest competitors she has faced this season, but she followed it with something more pointed. She said she has worked so hard on her skills these last 2 weeks to make sure she controls this match from start to finish. You could feel the determination in her voice when she said there won't be a repeat of Paris this time. This wasn't just a case of showing confidence, she was issuing a direct challenge. Gauff wasn't just aiming to win, she was putting the pressure squarely on herself to dominate. Now, with both players at the top of their games and the Cincinnati crowd already counting down to the date, the question is no longer whether Gauff can handle Paolini. It's whether Paolini can handle the version of Gauff who's promising, in her own words, to take full control. Interestingly, both of them have unique playing skills. Coco Gauff's game is built around raw athleticism, explosive shot-making, and an aggressive mindset that keeps opponents constantly on the defensive. She commands the court with powerful serves and penetrating ground strokes, often dictating rallies from the very first strike. She has an amazing foot speed that allows her to turn defense into offense in an instant, retrieving seemingly unreachable balls and then counterpunching with depth and pace. Gauff, on the other hand, has a more subtle kind of strength. One of her most defining qualities is her competitive resilience. She possesses a fighter mentality. She is never intimidated by the scoreboard or the occasion. This mental toughness particularly shines in high-pressure moments, such as tiebreaks, where her focus and intensity tend to rise rather than falter. So far this year, her hard-court campaign reflects both her strengths and ongoing areas of growth. She has posted an 18-6 win-loss record. She has an average of 2.58 aces per match and a 60.8% first serve. While her serve can be a weapon, it has also been inconsistent at times. So far this season, she has a record of 6.11 double faults per match. But something is changing about her. Looking at her recent games, it seems she's improving on her serving reliability. When she recently played against Lucia Bronzetti, Gauff committed only 3 double faults, which is her lowest tally since last year's Roland Garros semifinals. This cleaner serving performance not only reduced her unforced errors, but also allowed her to dictate points more confidently. If she continues to pair her aggressive baseline play with a steadier serve, she could become even more dominant in hard-court matchups. Another commendable thing about her is her ability to create and seize opportunities. She converts 59.5% of her breakpoints. That's an impressive percentage that highlights her knack for applying pressure on return games. Paolini, on the other hand, seems like the inverse of Gauff. Her strengths lie in her patient, strategic approach to tennis. She is a natural baseliner. She is adept at building points with precision, using angles, depth, and consistent rally tolerance to wear opponents down. True, she might lack the outright power of some of her peers, but she compensates with exceptional courtcraft and shot placement, often drawing errors through subtle changes in pace and direction. Paolini's serve, though not a major weapon in terms of speed or ace count, is notably consistent and reliable. She averages about 1.42 aces per match and keeps her errors in check with only 1.56 double faults per match. That's a cleaner service record compared to Gauff's. This allows her to start rallies on her own terms more frequently and limits the free points given away to opponents. Traditionally stronger on clay, Paolini has made visible strides on hard courts in 2025, holding a 15-7 record on the surface. Her adaptability comes from her improved timing on faster surfaces, where she now takes the ball earlier to rob opponents of reaction time. This evolution in her game makes her a more versatile threat across different tournament settings. While Paolini may not overpower opponents, her tactical patience, combined with consistent depth and shot variation, often forces aggressive players into overpressing. Her ability to extend rallies and turn them in her favor can be particularly effective against players like Gauff, who thrive on quick, decisive points. How would these two sets of skills play out while the world watches? And this game wasn't just another game on the WTA Tour. The Cincinnati Open is one of the most prestigious WTA 1000 events and the final major tune-up before the US Open. This is the tournament where players test their form, fine-tune their games, and send a clear message to the rest of the field before stepping onto the Grand Slam stage in New York. For Coco Gauff, Cincinnati holds special significance. She lifted the trophy here in 2023, thrilling the home crowd with her speed, power, and clutch performances. And now, in 2025, she returns as a top contender, carrying momentum from a roller coaster season. Gauff's year began shakily, but her campaign caught fire on clay. The highlight of it was the French Open title she won after defeating Aryna Sabalenka in a hard-fought final. She followed that with back-to-back finals in Madrid and Rome. On hard courts, her record is even more impressive. She had deep runs at Indian Wells, the semifinals, and Miami, round of 16, plus a flawless 8-0 record in finals on the surface across her career. Jasmine Paolini, on the other hand, is carving her own history in 2025. The Italian stunned the tennis world by winning the Italian Open, becoming the first woman from her country in 40 years to do so. That title run included a decisive 6-4, 6-2 victory over Gauff, a proof she can handle the Americans' power when in top form. While clay remains her most comfortable surface, Paolini has made significant strides on hard courts this year. Her Cincinnati campaign has been dominant so far, taking out Maria Sakkari, Ashlyn Kruger, and dispatching Barbara Krejcikova 6-1, 6-2 in just over an hour. Now, the stakes are crystal clear. Gauff defends her home crown and hard-court dominance, while Paolini hunts her first Cincinnati victory and a confidence boost heading into the US Open. Gauff and Paolini's rivalry and journey to the quarters didn't start today. In fact, some details of their history will shock you. Gauff and Paolini's journey to the quarters. Gauff and Paolini have come a long way. Their first meeting was on a warm February day in 2021 at the Adelaide International. Coco Gauff was 16 at the time. She was raw but electric. Jasmine Paolini was 25, a late-blooming Italian already fluent in the art of constructing points. That first meeting would set a defining moment for their future. Gauff won in straight sets. a routine result on paper, yet it foreshadowed a clash of identities that would keep evolving. There was Gauff's explosive first step and first strike versus Paolini's patience, geometry, and guile. That match didn't make headlines, but it planted a seed. Years later, fans would look back at Adelaide as where it all started. By the time they met again in August 2023 in the Midwest heat, the seed had germinated. Cincinnati, a WTA 1000, and the last major tune-up before New York, staged their second act. Both of them had momentum, but only one left with the roar of a home crowd. That title lit the fuse for her run to the US Open crown weeks later. Then came the flip in the rivalry. In April 2025 at Stuttgart, on slick indoor clay, Paolini finally broke through and beat Gauff in the quarterfinals. A month later in Rome, in front of a country falling in love with her underdog poise, Jasmine did it again. This time in the Italian Open final, a 1,000-level stage she commanded with fearless, measured shot-making. The win crowned a transformation. Paolini was no longer just a clay court craftsman. She could sting a heavyweight in prime time. Their head-to-head, once leaning Coco's way, was suddenly level, 2 wins apiece, and their paths felt destined to cross whenever the stakes rose. To really understand why this duel keeps escalating, you have to go all the way back into the origin stories that made them. What we're about to unveil will surprise you. Gauff's is the American dream retold through a baseline. Born in Atlanta on March 13, 2004, she moved to Delray Beach, Florida, where sports weren't just encouraged, they were the family language. Her father, Corey, played college basketball, and her mother, Candy, starred in track and field. They quit their jobs to back their daughter's obsession, Candy taking on homeschooling and Corey serving as coach. Coco's life tightened around the ball's bounce and the grunt of effort. By 10, she had linked with Patrick Mouratoglou's Champ Seed Foundation. By 13, she was the youngest US Open junior finalist in the Open era. A year later, at 14, she won the French Open girls title, the youngest Roland Garros girls champion since 1993. These were outstanding achievements, but the world didn't know her yet. The world discovered her in 2019 on the sport's most storied lawn. Gauff qualified for Wimbledon, and in her main draw debut, stunned 5-time champion Venus Williams 6-4, 6-4, cool, poised, unblinking on the Cathedral of Grass. She reached the 4th round, the youngest to do so at Wimbledon since 1991, turning a teenage long shot into a cultural phenomenon overnight. Months later in Linz, still 15, she won her first WTA title as a lucky loser, a perfect distillation of her vibe. Give her an opening and she'll grab the whole door. That summer felt like a trailer for a blockbuster we're still watching. The promise paid off in 2023. Cincinnati became the week that proved she could dominate a 1,000 field. New York became the fortnight that proved she could carry a nation. At the US Open, down a set to Arina Sabalenka in the final, Gauff recalibrated and ran away with the match, 2-6, 6-3, 6-2, claiming her first major at 19. And just like that, the child prodigy had become a closer. But while Coco was coming of age in a spotlight, Jasmine Paolini was crafting a quieter epic. The start of her career also has a lot of interesting details. Some of them are just unbelievable. Born January 4, 1996 in Castelnuovo di Garfagnana, a small Tuscan town bordered by mountains and mythic roads, Paolini didn't cut the profile of a modern power player. At 5'4", she built a game on placement, footwork, and problem-solving. Her family background is as layered as her patterns. She has an Italian father and a mother of Ghanaian and Polish heritage, with roots that some reports stretch further into Denmark. She speaks Italian, English, and Polish. She grew up idolizing Roger Federer's clarity and grace. For years, she toiled in ITFs and qualifying draws. This was a familiar grind for the average almost there player, Then, in 2021 at Portoraj, Slovenia, she lifted her first WTA trophy. What changed the speed of her ascent was 2024. She reached back-to-back slam finals, Roland Garros and Wimbledon, toppling big hitters with clever redirections and wearing down counterpunchers with relentless depth. In Paris, the mountain was Iga Świątek, who tore through the final. At Wimbledon, Barbara Krejcikova edged her in 3. Yet the losses didn't dim the story. Instead, they clarified it. Paolini knew she belonged and she acted like it. She finished the year inside the top tier, then in 2025 added a Roland Garros doubles crown with Sara Errani. If you line up their 4 meetings, you can watch the themes evolve in real time. In Adelaide 2021, it was teenager versus tour veteran, Gauff's pace over Paolini's. Then, Cincinnati 2023, it was hard court supremacy and the electricity of a home summer. Stuttgart 2025 was more like Paolini's clay toolkit: early preparation, redirecting pace, forehand up the line, finally piercing Gauff's rhythm. Then came Rome 2025. Paolini, now playing with the authority of a national champion in waiting, constructs patterns that keep Gauff off the baseline spots she loves. It's 2-2 for a reason. Each learned the other's secrets and filed away the countermeasures. Their childhoods sort of explain the contrast you see in the rallies. Gauff's family turned life into a high-performance greenhouse. That's why, in tie breaks or breakpoint storms, you'll see her posture tilt forward, eyes hunting. She has grown from the teen who could flash brilliance into the adult who can manage a day when the serve misfires or the forehand leaks long. That's also why the United States claimed her so quickly. She's the archetype of hustle that American sports adore. Paolini's roots, by contrast, shaped a game of patience and craft. Without the height or raw power many peers wield, she learned to win with first-strike intelligence. Height over the net when needed, knifing angles, changing directions at just the right time. She perfected the art of being underestimated and then punished the underestimation. Her 2024 twin finals, followed by the Rome 2025 triumph and the 2025 Roland Garros doubles title with Errani, turned her into a standard-bearer for Italian tennis, a player kids in Bagni di Lucca and beyond could model not on physique, but on problem-solving. So how did they converge here again in Cincinnati, with the stakes humming? Because the tour pulls great rivals into orbit at just the right moments. The Western and Southern Open is traditionally the last checkpoint before the US Open, where confidence can be hoarded or squandered. In 2023, Cincinnati poured rocket fuel into Gauff's season. She rode that high to Arthur Ashe. In 2025, Paolini arrives carrying fresh proof that she can beat Gauff when the ball is slower and the court slicker, but she wants the validation of doing it on American hard courts against the defending Cincinnati legacy under the weight of a Friday night crowd. The symmetry is irresistible. But that's not all. Peel back one more layer into the human details that rarely fit into score lines, and the rivalry deepens. Gauff's 2 younger brothers, Cody and Cameron, are fixtures in celebratory moments. She has publicly said their presence steadies her. Paolini's multicultural background has given her unexpected advantages, like chatting in Polish with Iga Świątek during trophy photos, or calmly navigating international media frenzies with a smile. Each, in her own way, has become an ambassador. Gauff for a new generation of American tennis, Paolini for a renaissance in Italian women's tennis that mirrors the men's surge led by Jannik Sinner. And there's a final twist in their intertwined path: doubles. In 2024, Gauff won her first major women's doubles title with Katarzyna Siniakova. So when you watch them walk out in Cincinnati, you're not just seeing a 2-2 head-to-head decider. You're seeing the ghosts of 2019 Wimbledon and Linz in Gauff's stride, and the echoes of Paris clay and center court heartbreak in Paolini's stare. If Gauff wins, it's another stitch in the hard court quilt that has wrapped around her since that Cincinnati breakthrough and the US Open. A reminder that when she lands her first serve and trusts the forehand, she can make even the most artful opponents rush. If Paolini wins, it's a declaration that her 2024 to 2025 wasn't a clay court cameo, but a full-surface manifesto that the same precision that disarmed Coco in Rome can translate under the Ohio lights. Either way, this quarterfinal is less a detour than the road itself. It's the next chapter in a rivalry that started as a footnote in Adelaide and now hums at the center of a sport hungry for great, contrasting protagonists. What's your take on Gauff's announcement about Paolini and Cincinnati quarterfinals? Do you think their background made a lot of impact on the kind of player they turned out to be? We would love you to share your opinion in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.